Umlenen, a block Gemara. It's Friday Erev Shabbos, and today's daf is daf Ayin Tes. We're actually up to the very bottom of the page. Just to quickly remind you what we are learning now, Rava made a rule, a universal rule, that whenever the Torah says the word "seh," it means strictly a sheep that comes from a father and a mother that are sheep. Not Klein, not a hybrid, not a crossbreed. That the mother is a sheep and the father is a goat. You can't have that. So then we worked out that really it's not applicable anywhere because everywhere where climb is not permitted, the Torah actually spells it out, and other places climb actually is permitted. So we've come down finally to one place, and that is Petach Hamad, which we learn about in the Torah in this week's parsha, the end of the parsha, where we say that on Petach Hamad, how do you redeem the firstborn donkeys with a seh? So when the Torah used the word says Rava, seh means only a seh that is strictly a seh, that both of its parents are proper parents. That's Rava's rule. Even though he says kol mokum, we managed finally to find one place because Maisa and everything else we learn from each other. Okay, so let's go for the bottom of the page here. We are up to that. It's not so simple because Rabbi Lazar actually says. So we'll start from here, about 7 lines on the bottom of the page. Says the Gemara. Okay, so you found the brayta that says when it comes to redeem, a moira has to be, you cannot use a sev klein. Oh, but what about Rabbi Lazar? The matter klein. Rabbi Lazar holds that petach hamoira. Clearly, you can use a seh that the mother is a seh, let's say a sheep, and the father is a horse. No problem. It's not Rabbi Lazar is matzeh. Rabbi Lazar meferish says is mutter beklayim lip nature, who says as long as this particular animal is a sheep in its own right. And it's good enough. I don't care that the father is a horse. So what's Rabbi's rule now? According to Rabbi Lazar, Kol Makom, we can't even find one place. I can't even find one place. So because we went through everything, if you stole it, a sheep, we went through everywhere. We have the word oy here to tell you one way, and everything by it comes to a carbon, we have the word oy to be ma. Everything here we learn from other places. So what is it? So what's pshat? When is Rabbi saying his din? Says the Gemara. Amalach Rabbi Lazar ki itma de Rav. I'll tell you what's about. L'tamei shenoilid min hatoid, but the iburin min hatamei. The mother is a sheep, and the father is what do you call it? A treifa animal. Even though Rabbi Lazar is matzah b'klayim, you know when he's matzah b'klayim, if the mother is a sheep and let's say the father is a goat, but if the mother is a sheep and the father is a horse, so it's a toy that comes from a tamadik animal, a tameh, that you cannot use. And how do I know? The word seh. That's what I use the word seh for. And to teach us what? That you cannot eat it. When the Torah says you're allowed to eat the following animals, but not in a case where you have a kosher animal, but the father was not kosher. Then you cannot use that. Says the Gemara, this does not conform with Rabbi Shua. Not that Rabbi Shua argues with this halacha, but he learns it from another pasuk. It says in the pasuk, it says in the pasuk there, Seh kusavim b'seh izim. It says this is what you should eat. The pasuk says the following you can eat. Shoir seh ksavim b'seh izim. Plural. Why is it seh ksavim? So Rabbi Shua says from here on out that both parents have to be a kesef. Both parents have to be sheep, or both parents have to be goats. So Rabbi Yeshua learns somewhere else. So according to Rabbi Yeshua, you just told me according to Rabbi Lazar, the only pasuk that we can use this seh is a teacher that when it comes to eating, you shouldn't eat an animal that comes a toy, from a mother that's toy, but from a father that's tamei. According to Rabbi Yeshua, we learned that from another pasuk. So according to Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Yeshua's version of it, we can apply Rabbi's rule? Says the Gemara, the Rabbi Yeshua can't be Rabbi Yeshua because he says Mesek Savim v'Seizin Nafkal. He learns Ache Aviv Keves v'Ima gives. So the Gemara then says, even though we use the word tamei, tamei doesn't necessarily mean a non-kosher animal. And this is the chiddush here. The tahira mitmei mima'avir. Let me ask you a question: is it even possible that you can have that a horse can mate with a sheep, and a tamadik animal mate with a kosher animal and bear a child? I need a pasuk. Is that even possible? In Matthias, is it even possible that you need to exclude that? We know that you cannot. The entire physiology is very different. They cannot crossbreed. Igmar says, yes. The kaimelon, when we say over here, atome, it says here before, Rabbi Loza says, ki itmo the Rav l'tome shenolim min hatoy, v'iburim min hatome, that you know, Rav's din is coming to Mechadish. No, it's Rabbi Yeshua is talking about takatome, the animal, the mother of the horse, and who says like cost, it's so easy. What Rabbi Loza's chiddush here is, and that's what we're using the pasuk Rabbah for everybody, is the following case. You have both parents are let's say, an ox and a cow. But the baby that was born does not have the second siman of split hooves. Right? It's cloven. It's not split at all. So it has only one siman. The Torah says if an animal only has one siman, it's treif. Right? Camel is no good. All these four animals highlighted in the Torah is the problem. Each one only has one sign. When is one sign a problem? If it comes from treif stock. If it comes from kosher stock, as long as it has one sign, it is kosher. But now this animal with one sign now is bred with an animal or whatever. It's made with an animal that has both signs. Their offspring is not kosher. The offspring of an animal that only has one sign, it itself is kosher because it comes from two proper parents. But its offspring is coming, the next generation is coming only from a parent on one side. And we call that tomei. So when we say that a tomei mates with a toir, and they give birth to an animal, and you're not allowed to eat that animal. And we learn that from the word seh, because it's a tummy and a toy. Tummy here does not mean a non-kosher animal. Tummy here means an animal is only one sign. And even though it itself is kosher, not its offspring. And that we learn out from Rabbi's din of seh. That says, well, my klayim, that's called klayim. Tummy and toy. That's what the chiddush here is.
You see that from this instance means
because that's what the Gemara means. The Gemara says that it's coming to teach Rabbi Loza, coming to tell me that you cannot eat. That according to Rabbi Loza, you can use klein for petach hamoed. But over here, when it comes to eating, you cannot have a case of a tomei and a toy. So we're saying we learned that from Rabbi. And what do we mean over here, tomei and a toy? If it's a treifa animal, a horse, let's say, anything, that we learn for sekvasim and say easy because it says both have to be kosher animals. When we are saying that Rava comes to add another layer, is with both parents are kosher, but the father only has one siman, and we'll call that tameh as opposed to the mother that has both simanim. That's what we're saying here. We have a rule: the aber mikolud kid Abshimin. This follows Abshimin. In other words, that this Abshimin one said that the offspring is also following Abshimin that the offspring is also. So tameh is that even though it itself is really a kosher animal, but it's tameh as far as offspring is concerned. Because it says twice. Gomel, he learns one if it comes from a kosher stock and not kosher stock. Okay. Talking about it further. Boy, that's an interesting question. Hare alai oilam. To show you how we're talking here now about karbonos, so we're not stealing, and how we learn other halachas, or maybe not, from totally unrelated. Boy, here's a question. Hare olai oila. A guy says, I'm taking upon myself an oila, and we're following, as Rashi says, Shimon, who says that if you take it upon hare olai, means I'm taking responsibility. So therefore, when you steal it from me, you're stealing my money. So you're a ganef, and you have to pay double. It's not like you're stealing from Hegdish. Okay, hare olai oila. The hifrish, and he decided to get a big. Now, when he said oila, he didn't say what kind of oila. He just said an oila. He made a neder, and he has to fulfill his neder. And he set aside an ox, which is the most expensive one. Uba achar, or the cow. Uba achar came along another person. The gonav, and stole it. The ganef now wants to do tshuva. We had before chazer ken lebayim. Is going to bring a carbon to the base of English on behalf of the other guy. Right, bring on behalf of the other guy. Does he have to bring a shayr? An oila you could be yaitze with a bird. An oila you could be yaitze with a sheep. Can the ganef give a sheep, bring a sheep that may cost half the price, and say to the guy, you fulfill your neder? Because your neder was you bring an oila. You brought an oila. You wanted to bring a shayr, you set it aside, it doesn't matter. Remember, it's not going to you personally, it's going to the Eibishter. And you yaitze, you fulfill your neder. Am I doing tshuva here? But you know about the oila, the hifri shayr, the vach, came along another guy, but going to stole it, be potter, ganef, nafshe, be kevis. Can a guy be yaitze with a sheep? The Rabbanon hold that and God said that in their place, the minimum amount is the cheapest thing is a sheep. So can you yaitze with a sheep? You're neder. Or according to in other regions where a bird is the cheapest, Rabbi Zay's region, but Eilah Seif, Rabbi Zay. Now we learn. When you say stam, I'm bringing oila. What do you have to bring? Yavi kevis. In his region, the cheapest place, the cheapest item you could bring was a kevis. No, bring a dove, a pigeon, bring that. My. So can the Ghana be to that? Me and do we say? Shame oila kabel alay. The guy said, I'm taking an oila, and you did it for him. You returned the oila, so therefore you're no longer chayiv. The victim can say, I set aside a show because I want to the best of the best. I'm not interested in the poor, cheap quality. Boss of the boy, you had the posh, then resolved it. Gone the potted atzer be kevis rabbanon, okay, it's very nice to have a heater, but that's not part of the nether. That's not part of the nether. So you have to answer, what was the question? What's the answer? We'll get that in a second. Fascinating Chacham Tzvi. Based on this, is a Machleit Chacham Tzvi and one of his predecessors. What happens if I steal your esrig on Sukkot? Steal your esrig on Sukkot. Or you gave me an esrig to use and I broke the pitum, or I made a puzzle. I have to pay it back. You bought the most beautiful esrig. You spent a fortune of money because you wanted a pre-8 hodder. Can I be giving you a cheap $25 esrig because it's a yaitza? You tiny, but I want dafka beautiful esrig. And I say, but the mitzvah esrig is still mekayim. And so one of them, not the chacham, the other one wants to bring an eye from here. You set aside an oila. You set aside a shay. That's the time you said it. You didn't even thought it. You set aside, and yet I can give you a bird, and I'm yaitza. So then the Chacham Tzvi's word is that since I can sell my esrik, I can sell if I'm the owner, I can sell my esrik. It's worth money to me. It's mine. It's not like a carbon that's totally the Eibishter's, and therefore, as long as you get to what do you want? Here, it's mine. It's worth money. And you stole a value that's worth $500. Don't pay me back the $25 esrik. That's a Chacham Tzvi's word. And then becomes a whole discussion later. Are you talking allowed to sell your esrig on Sukkot? During Sukkot, because it's muktzah. Huktzul mitzvasei. Is it huktzul mitzvasei? So it's still an esrig you can sell to anybody you want. Or huktzul to you, and it's not a commodity anymore. So interesting machlekes there or discussion. But okay, but you have to think like this. When it comes to l'chayda esrig, it's a different story altogether. The mitzvah is priyetz hadar. It's not some extraneous. That's the mitzvah. So if I bought a $500, that's all part. You can't separate the hadar from the esrig because it's all part of the priyetz hadar. The discussion over here is b'chlal hiddur mitzvah. It's an Indian to beautify mitzvah, have the nicest talis, the nicest, the sefer Torah, more human, all that beautiful stuff. But is that part of the mitzvah? Hiddur mitzvah is part of every mitzvah, or hiddur mitzvah separate from the mitzvah? The mitzvah called tefillin. Yeah, it's a separate mitzvah called, which is one mitzvah for all the mitzvahs of the Torah, extraneous to the mitzvah you're doing, separate altogether. But whenever you do a mitzvah, whenever you do a mitzvah, do it in the best possible fashion. Is that keli manvei? Do it in the nicest way. Or no, it's a chelik in every mitzvah that this, whatever, part of the mitzvah is a mitzvah, then there's the hiddur of that mitzvah, which is part of that mitzvah. And that's the question. If you say that it's a hiddur of that mitzvah, it's part of the mitzvah, and that's the same with the carbon. It's a part of the carbon. If maybe the guy can say, I thought I want the oiler, and I took a shoy. That's the mitzvah for me. And Rabbi's answer is no. That hiddur mitzvah is not part of the mitzvah. It's a separate equal hiddur mitzvah. Your neder is only to fulfill the mitzvah. Nowhere in your neder did you talk about hiddur. And hiddur is a separate thing altogether. So therefore, as far as your neder is, it's a 100% fulfilled, not 80% fulfilled. You wanted a show and I gave you a bird. It's your neder was 100% fulfilled because that's what you said was an oiler. I wanted a better one. That's a separate thing. If you would have made a neder, I would have wanted the best oiler, something else. Yeah. But you didn't include that in your neder. And that's the shakavataya here. So according to this, the conclusion is that hiddur mitzvah is a separate thing altogether from the mitzvah itself.
We had a Rashi a while ago that what is the mitzvah? And Rashi said that he didn't spend a lot of money on things the Moshe Esrim. We had
you have not no. You have test on the base. How much is Bava Kama? How much? We also had more humor where they used to walk around and show each other. I had the nicest sefer Torah, the nicest ksav, the nicest yerias. Okay, let's continue. So anyway, further. Actually, he learned clearly. Amar Rabba wasn't a question. The Rabba said, "Hadei alai oile v'hi for the shoy," and he said, "That's how to show it." You don't have to give the very expensive show. You can give whatever you want, something cheap. Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah, what happened? Okay, I stole an animal, I sold it, but I sold chutz me'echad me'meish, but I'm keeping and retaining ownership of one part of it. So I didn't sell the entire animal. And we learned before, which has come from this Mishnah, you have to sell the entire animal. And the Gemara is going to be machlekes, what's the definition of entire? But the entire animal, chutz, even 100, a little minute part. Or in fact, I was part owner. So when I sold the stolen part, yours, I didn't sell the entire animal because part was already mine. You have to wonder what the chiddush in here is. And when we read before about his son, if he stole from his father, then his father died, and then he sold it his potter, because does he have to sell the whole thing? So what's the chiddush over here? He's saying the same thing again. You're not really responsible because it has to be an entire sale. Anyway, Hasheichet v'nisnabla b'yadi, you shechted it, and it became an avela while it was in your possession. So no, the shechita didn't do anything; it died right there. It became an avela, carcass. Or hanoichet, what happened? You just you ripped off and you ripped the chira, which is you ripped from the back down to the heart, then shach with a knife. Or you went ahead and you with your hand you yanked at the esophagus, the trachea, and you did it to someone, not a knife. In all these cases, that's not called shchita. You pay kevel, you don't pay the 4 or 5 times. It's not shchita, it's not mechira. That's not the definition of a sale. It has to be the entire animal, and shchita has to be cutting through, not ripping apart. Says the Gemara, when you say chutz me'echad me'meish, which part are you retaining? Machlek is Rav and Levi. Rav says, chutz medavar haniter imay b'shchita. When we say you retained ownership, is only if you retained a part of the animal that the only way you can eat it is if, for example, you shechted, for example, flesh. But if I'm retaining a lamb, I'm retaining the wool, that's not called retaining. Because the animal itself, that requires, every part of the animal requires shchita, you're sold. So it's a proper sale. Comes and Levi says, no. Chutz megizisa, any part of the animal, even the shearings, which shearings are the biggest chiddush because you cut it off all the time. Still, if it's sitting on the animal, I'm saying I'm selling you. Besides the wool that I'm about to share, I'm going to share later. It's not a sale because you didn't sell the entire animal.
You shared it before.
That's what I'm talking about. It's talking about Tanya. We learned b'masnita chutz megizisa. If he said chutz megizisa, we'll see in the end of Bava Kama about shearings, shini mice and all that. Macy, I'll have your question. What happens if Mocher, you sold it chutz miyada? It says in the Brayso, we have a number of opinions, and we want to see if Rav conforms to any of the opinions. What happens? He said, I'm selling the animal, the stolen animal, chutz miyada. I'm not going to sell the foreleg. Chutz meragla. I'm not going to sell the hind legs. Chutz mekarna, except that, now legs are flesh that needs shchita. But then you add further. Chutz mekarna, the horn. Chutz megizisa, except the shearings. If you hold back anything, you don't pay. It's exactly like Levi. You hold back anything.
Mechira was not a real mechira.
Not a full mechira. It has to be full. It's not a full mechira. Okay, so obviously it can be Rav. But let's give the next opinion. Remember, Rav says only the parts of the animal that come with the shchita, that you need shchita. Rebbe Yomer, dover hama'akiv b'shchita. Even parts of the animal. If this makes the animal renders the animal treif, that if the shchita is no longer going to be kosher, then you didn't sell the entire animal. You cut the foreleg off. The animal's still kosher, below the knee. The animal's still kosher, then it's a proper sale. Well, that isn't Rav. Rav said any part of the animal that needs shchita is considered the animal. If you hold it back, it's not a full sale. Okay, next opinion. Let's see if that follows Rav. But if you say except the horn, why? Because horns are part of the animal and you don't cut them off. But chutz megizesa, shearings is different. Because shearing is something you'll always cut off anyways. That's mamish, extraneous to the animal, happens to grow an animal. Now, Rav doesn't favor anybody. Levi is exactly Tanakama. You hold anything back, not a full sale. El Rav, come on, who does he follow here? Nobody. Come on, Amri, we answer Rav. The Amr is a fourth time. In another Brayso, Amr, another Brayso, Rav Shimon Rav Shimon Lozer says, now in this first Brayso we just had Rav Shimon Lozer, but another Brayso has a different version of Shimon Lozer. In our Brayso here it says that the horn is part of the animal, but the shearings are not. But there's another Brayso, Rav Shimon Lozer, Machra chutz miyada chutz meragla. Now, the foreleg and the hind leg, these are parts of the animal that require shchit of the mother in order to be kosher. You don't pay 4 or 5 times. Why? Because part of the animal you retain. But if you say chutz mekarna, chutz megizayse, which doesn't need the shchita, so it's not really part of the animal, then you do pay tar bona chamisha. So this is clear. Rav Shimon Lazar, this Rav Shimon Lazar version of Rav Shimon Lazar is Rebbe. So anyone might come in, what's going on here? What is the machlekes? You have 4 opinions here. So we say Tanakama, so Tanakama holds. It says Tvochoi Kulebin. You got to shecht the entire animal. Umachoroi Kulebin. You got to sell the entire animal. Even if you hold back the shearings, the wool, you didn't sell the entire animal. Okay, so it's not, you're not chayiv the 4 or 5 times. But Rebbe holds. Rebbe said that only the parts of the animal that prevent the shchita from being kosher, but if let's say the part of the leg, which does not render the animal treif, if you hold it back, it's still a good sale. What is his basis? Because it says things that enable the shchita. And if you don't have it, it disables the shchita, it disqualifies the shchita. No, part of the animal makes the animal treif, disqualifies the shchita. But if you hold that back, but if you hold back a part of the leg or something which does not make the animal treif, then it's a good tficha and you're chayiv. And so what is the mechira? Which are not included in tficha. And the next word in the pasuk is again. Every time the Gemara says "u" when the pasuk is "oy," it's amazing. Well, it has to be similar to shechting. What? So selling as well. If you sell the animal whole, retain parts that make the shchita, disqualify the shchita, it's not a sale. But if I'm holding back parts which does not disqualify the shchita, it's a good sale. But Abshimon Lazar holds Tana. Abshimon Lazar Mona says the difference in the horns and shearings. Tana, the loyal means the kind you don't eventually cut it off. Have a shear. If you hold that back, that means holding back part of the animal. It's not a sale. The shearings. The megas kind. What do you do with the wolf? You're supposed to cut it. You cut it all the time. Then loy have a shear. It's not called holding back. And therefore, it's like you sold the entire animal. You held back the wolf, but the wolf's not really exactly. So therefore, it's not part of the animal. The second Hashem Elazar, which is what Rav holds, the either ton of Hashem Elazar, somebody holds anything like Rebbe, like Rav, Yod of the ragl of the tzichet, any part of the animal, any part of the flesh. The only way you can eat it is if it was geschachten. That's considered part of the animal. Habishir, if you hold back the foreleg, then it's not. You didn't sell the entire animal. The loy mishal tashloba chamisha. Or bekaneh, the gizay said the loy tzichet, but the horns and the shearing that does not require shchita. You don't need for the horns shchita. Then, if you sell the animal apart from the horns, you sold the entire animal. Lo have a share. Then you mother, okay, a side issue, but kasher shimalaza. You have 2 brises, different versions of shimalaza. Think about no problem, as we usually say. Today, tanoi live shimalaza. 2 opinions. What Reb Shimalaza actually holds. Tell them learned. What happens? Hagoynev hakitas, the animal that I stole from the nigna, from the victim, was already kitas, was already part of it cut off. Or chigeres, it was already a limping animal. Let's assume it. The animal was a blind animal. In other words, what I stole was an incomplete animal. That's what I stole. Kosher animal was incomplete, blind. So too, if I stole an animal that belonged to partners, or we're talking about partners, in all of these cases, chayiv. I am chayiv. Why am I chayiv? And what be chayiv? If I turn around and I sold it, I'm chayiv. Because I sold what I stole. Part of it is missing, we just had a whole machlokes. It's not I'm retaining anything here. Whatever I stole, I sold. And therefore, that's called umechare. What about, there's no machlokes. What about the shutfin shigonvu? If 2 partners, the way we take it right now, 2 partners steal together, they are pot. Okay, that's what it sounds like, that 2 partners, 2 people together in cahoots. We learn shutfin shigonvu chayavin. We learned that the partners steal their chayiv. So what's going on here? If a shutiv steals from his friend, you are potted. Why? Because and then you shecht. So much, the shechting is selling. You know why you potted? Because we said before you have to shecht the entire animal, or you have to sell the entire animal, but half the animal is mine. So on my half, I'm definitely potted, and once I'm potted on my half, I'm potted on your half because I didn't shecht the entire stolen animal. Yeah, and kan b'shutiv shegonav. If I stole from my chaver, I'm pot. If I stole from someone else, then I'm chayiv because What do you call it? I stole an entire animal, and I sold an entire animal. In the Alma, sorry, should you go to Alma? You stole from somewhere else. So if I stole from my own partner, half of it belonged to me. So therefore, I didn't shech the entire animal in a possible way. I didn't sell the entire animal. Half the animal is mine. So I'm potter. But if we stole from somebody else, we stole the entire animal, so then we shech it, sold it, then you chay. Eis v'Rav Nachman Yochel, it says in the Braisa, excuse me, Yochel, I would have thought, Shooter should go if a shooter steals from his friend, or shooter should go with two partners that stole. Yevchayavim, we would thought they'd be chay, Tamalim, but Tvachai, Kulei, Beina, Veleka. I would, since each partner is only doing part, just like we say, if I steal from my partner, I'm potter, because I didn't, shech the entire animal be Isser or sell the entire animal be Isser. If two partners together steal, and we shecht, each one only shechted half an animal, so they didn't do a full shchita of Isser or sell fully, because each one is only 50% partner. What are you saying before that? If you steal my alma, Rav Nachman said, if you steal from the world two partners, you're chay. So Rav Nachman changed his mind. Rav Nachman said, Rav also has a habit of doing to Rav Nachman, not as bad, but as a Abaye you should do to Abaye and to Yisrael and Rabba. Rav Nachman, like Kash. Remember a few days ago, Rav Nachman actually that night thought one thing, in the morning he came in and he told him differently. Rav Nachman, like Kasha. If I went ahead and I shechted and you knew about it, and as if you make me a shliach, then we're chayiv. Because yeshli, as we'll say, yeshli is when it comes to shechting, because it's vache oy mechane or tachas the fish took me head. Can b'shutim shetav shleich chaverei. Now, what if I went ahead and checked without your knowledge? Then we are potter, right? Because half owner was not involved. So the Gemara. Why is it if I did without your knowledge? Why am I potter? I stole with you, and I went ahead and checked on myself. Why am I potter? Because it's like a goynef and a ganef. We're both ganef, and now when I went ahead and checked without your permission on your half, I'm stealing from you. So a goynef and a ganef, you're potter from kefil, you potter from the penalty. So therefore, I'm potter on the part that I'm chayiv. I should be chayiv on my half. But I'm not chayiv my half either, because it has to be the tzvacha. You have to check the entire animal bisir or sell the entire animal bisir. And I didn't, because your half, I'm a goynef and a ganef. I'm one person removed, and you potter. When we learned before that, that your chayiv, the discussion we had, but chamisha chatzi boker was where I stole the whole animal. An animal belonged to two partners. Then I went to one person that was moida on his half, and moida b'kanas potter. And then the question was, do you have to pay for the other half? So there, I shechted, everything was, at the time of the shechita, I did everything wrong. And I was just moida b'kanas, so therefore we say you might have to pay for the other half. I'm shaking over here, when I shechted it, I shechted your half without your permission. Telling about it further. Boy, Rabbi Yirmiyah, you asked the question. What happens if mochra, you sold the animal, but it's not a complete sale? Why? Because I said, chutz m'shleishin yen. I want to say for the next 30 days, I want to use it for myself. Or chutz m'melachta, or I'm selling you the animal, you want to shecht, it's your business, but if you're going to leave the animal alive, I can use whenever I want to do work for me. Or any work that you use it for, whatever the outcome is, belongs to me. No, you didn't make a full sale. Before we're talking about within the animal, part of the animal I'm keeping. Here I'm not keeping the animal, I'm keeping the function of the animal I'm retaining. And here sort of maybe part of the animal, I'm keeping the baby in the womb is mine. Now we're going to focus on the ubra. Now, the one that says that the baby inside is part of the mother, then like to boilach. So question, I'm holding back part of the animal. You're retaining part of the animal. The one that says that the baby is not part of the mother. So what's the shayla then? It's not part of the animal. What I mean, do we say keeping the mechubah? The fact is that it's inside the mother and it's attached. That's time inside. It's attached to the mother. That's where it gets nourishment from. Have shears. I'm holding something back. The animal really is separate and it's soon going to come out, emerge. Then I have shears. Not like I'm retaining an integral part of the animal itself. That's the question that Rabbi asked. I mean, who else would ask it? The others say. Even the lav yedech imahu. The question is followed. Do we say since it's not part of the mother? Lo have a shear. I'm not holding anything back. Or perhaps not because of the chuber. Even the tzarlish terui bahade b'shchita. If you shech the mother, we say that the baby inside. Remember that cool and all that. If you shech the mother, you can eat the baby inside is commanded shayv gubadam. It's as if you're holding back part of the mother. Take it. Boy, the papa, let's just go to the Mishnah. The papa had a question. Gonva, let's say you stole the animal, then you cut off the leg, umochra, and you sold the entire animal. What's left? Remember, we said before you have to sell the entire animal. So I stole a proper animal and I cut part of the leg off. The animal didn't become safe for anything else, and now I sell the animal the way it is. Me, I mean, my gun of and we said on the one hand, look, you stole a complete animal, a healthy animal, and now you sold something minus part of the leg, so it's not mocher. The vort is the word because it's not the original animal. The word because I'm retaining something for myself. I still have a chelik in it. Here I have no chelik in it. I'm selling you the entire animal, whatever there is, and the leg is gone. Hey, cool. Good question. Tell them what we learned. Gonav, let's say you stole it, the nosan la'acha. You stole it and you gave it to somebody else, the tovach. And I didn't. If you gave it to someone else as a matana, we learned before that matana kemechet. What's the difference if you sell it? Like we gave some before, you gave it to Hegel. If you sell it, you gave it. If you transferred ownership, that's mechira. That the Torah says you pay 4 or 5 times. Here you're talking about you gave to somebody else, not as a matana. You have to hold, not as a matana. Or I made him a shliach. I gave him and said, you know what? Shechted on my behalf. That means that yeshul g'varveda. God, and that person went and shechted. It's not stamming the belt, not he's gathering for me. I told him to shecht it for me. Okay, but I didn't give it to him as a matana. Otherwise, we don't have to wait till the shchita. The giving itself, the transfer is already the dalvei. Gonaf, you stole it. The nosan la'achad, you gave somebody else, and you asked him to sell it on your behalf. Or sell it. Umach, and he sold it. Again, yeshul already. Gonaf, you stole it. The hegdish. Ganav, and the Ganav made it hegdish. The Ganav made it hegdish. Why? In this case over here, you'd be chayed al behei because the transfer of ownership. Because what's the chilik if you give it to a hegdish or you give it to hegdish? Now there's a difference between if it's kachem. When you say hegdish, what kind of hegdish do you make it? If you made it for the mizbeach, we said before it was known as Toida de Reuven, and now it's still called Toida. Before it was known as Reuven's cow. And no. So there's no shini. Nothing changed. Even when you gave it to Hegdish, it's still known by the original person. Not only that, if Hegdish brings it up, it's a kapara for the original. Who gets the benefit of this carbon? If he made a neder, or if it's a kapara, if it's a thank, whatever it is, that the original person. So therefore, there was never a shinu reshus. So in that case, you don't pay dal v'hei. It's not like a sale. So when we say gona v'hidish, you have to pay dal v'hei. We're talking about you made it better kabais, kabais. Now, if you learn that Yush is not koina, then it makes sense. Why? How do I make it hegdish? So we say because the Shine Hashem, and Shine Hashem is or Shine Rishus, but then later on was Shine Hashem, and the Shine Hashem and the effect of it come at the same Babasachas. Why is the Shine Hashem? Because we hegdish. Why did it become hegdish? Because it's the Shine Hashem. So they come in tandem. The Shine Hashem and the hegdish come in tandem. So therefore it's chal. If you hold Yish is kind of. So the moment that the guy was Miyash became mine, so why if I make it hegdish afterwards, I'm paying dollar hey? It's my animal that I was making hegdish. So it must be talking about I made it hegdish before years. But if I made it before hegdish, what kind of hegdish is that? It's not chal at all. It's just like when I sell it. If it's before years and we had before the Gemara and you sold it, why are you chayv? It's not a sale. It's going through the motions. Mishana Maisib, you're going through, not because Mishad is like Rabbi Kiva said, but we're going through the motions. Same with Hegdish. Taka didn't become Hegdish, but you're going through the motions. Okay. Gonav, you stole the hikif and you lent it to somebody. Gonav, you stole it and you swapped it. We're giving examples of Mechira. Mechira doesn't literally mean selling it. Or Gonav, not some matana, you gave it as a gift. Gone for part of chayva. You owed somebody money, and he took this animal and gave it in lieu of the money. Again, these are all like sales. Gone for part of kefay. Or let's say you borrow, you did a business deal and you have credit and you use this animal to pay that credit. Gone for shalach sevlainus with base chama. You make kedushin after kedushin, you give sevlainus presents. You use it as those gifts. In all these cases, it's treated like a sale. Mishal teshlomi above chamisha. Says he want a micromarshal. I mean, what's the chiddush? It's all this passions. And when I answered Ashminan Reisha, it's the very first part, and that is Shliach Vareda. Gona v'nosan la'acha v'tovach. You stole it. You gave it to somebody else, and you instructed him, go ahead and shecht it. You made him a shliach. The Yeshlich Vareda. And the chiddush is, even though b'cholat Kula we have a rule, ein Shliach Vareda. You cannot have a shliach to do it very for you because we say Divrei Harab v'Divrei Talmid Mishaymin. I never expect you to listen to me. Here, when it comes to when you stole an animal, you shechter to sell it, there is shliach. How do we know? We had three answers. My timer, utvachai umachara. It says in the pasuk, we shechted or we sold it. Ma mechila, just like when it comes to selling it. Again, every time tvachai umachara. Yeah, it's puzzling.
It's a misquote.
But why? Constantly.
Oh,
here he says, belief. Oy mechore. Oh, wakes up now. What are all the other times we had? B'tvachai umachara. There must be a reason for it.
Needed to save two ACS on the line, two spaces.
It could be.
What's the difference if you have an extra aleph and an extra gap?
Oh, it's three spaces. The aleph, and then the gap in front. Okay, right, but one space. Yeah. And what? When it comes to selling, you need another party there. Is aftvicha the acher. Also, when you shech the other party there, and we had two others from the word tachas or oi that we learned out yeshel areda. So that's the chiddush of the ratio. That yeshel areda. B'chai b'chai. Vashmin is safe, and the end comes to teach you gona v'higdish. You stole it, you made it hegdish. That if you stole, you made it hegdish. And let's say yish is not koina. Why are you chayv? What are you chayv for? Because mali mochel hedin, mali mochel shmayim. If you transfer your ownership, what's the difference? You transfer it to an individual, you transfer it to the base hamikdash. I'll continue with some Shabbos 10 o'clock.